these new microphone holders. It don't make sense.
You got something to cut this with, like a key or something?
The clip thing I just don't get it. It just doesn't, I guess it's just different.
I think this is
Check 1, 2. You need to put some lows in this.
for the versatility of
Okay, all right, I get it. With the wireless mic, I understand. I ain't saying that. Check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Testing 1. You need some lows. There you go. Check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
It's been a long time. I've been in operation for a minute, Nate.
Check 1. Woo! Turn that down. That's too many highs. Check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Mic check 1. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You hear that? Check 1. Check 1, 2.
This is good right here.
Check 1. Mic check 1, 2. Testing 1.
Put the gain up, or you
No, this is good. I mean, this is good. This gives them.
They stand up.
Yeah, you know, he's like, you know that was too late. That's how it's gonna feel like. You know, he's gonna do something. You know you did not.
Oh, you play with it.
Come on, now work with me.
We call those girls.
Yeah, spunk, whatever you want to call it.
Not hearing it. Hold this right here so we can.
6.
So Kennedy's gonna be sitting in the right here. Maybe you're gonna be here for a long time. I knew they have a candidate. They might get out.
Basically, both Democratic. Majority of them like Democratic, but supposed to be Republican candidates. Supposed to share their views.
Isn't it pretty similar to
It's late night, I think. It's later in the day.
No, it's 11.
Yeah,
It starts at
11
noon,
a.m.
but they get in at 11. It's lecture though.
For how many?
For like
State representative.
300.
You already had
Got it.
246 right here, so hey.
There you go. It shouldn't be, I think I'm pretty sure it's lecture.
Daddy told me you guys were having some issues with that, or did you?
Questions. So, the two podiums are for what? Because as of right now, according to Jackie's run, you have one candidate going on the time. And the only time you have two candidates going on is at the very, very end. So I don't know if it's for them to do at the. Hey, sir, how you doing?
Good to see you, sir. You look like me.
Hey, man, I'm trying to
Good to
keep
see
up
you,
with you, sir. The 8 to 8:30, Ashley Moody and Sean Shaw.
Okay.
She has them on stand up. So I don't know if that's there for them.
That most likely, yes.
Okay. And then the other question I had was she had to reserve the green room space as a holding room. But my problem with that is right now the program she has them going back to back. So I don't know if
Okay, we're good. All right.
the distance
We got levels on?
from here to here
Okay.
and the time frame she has. Yeah, tight. So I
Go
don't know
there
if
and
she
see how
wants to kind of move up this.
Go on this picture.
Have them sit
Okay,
right down the
that
first row.
should be okay. That should be fine. I can run up and ask her if that's okay too.
Yeah, because I think that, there's at least a 2 to 3 minute delay. from
Okay,
here from there.
yeah, to get to there and there. That should be fine then, just.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Excellent. I mean, and if they need a holding room, then we can possibly do the VIP room,
Okay.
which is a little bit closer. Yeah. So just find out exactly what that room is for, so that we'll know how to do that, okay?
Okay, great. I'll follow really quick.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Christine.
Christine Kevin.
Yeah, you helped a lot with recruitment.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm the president of the sorority association, so I saw you a lot.
Oh, wow. How was recruitment this year?
Great. Hey, what's up?
Kevin, you're gonna be the MC, you front and center, main stage tonight, you?
Huh?
Main stage, you?
Oh, no. No,
You
man.
got you framed up.
No, man, I got to go home.
You're gonna be all over the internet.
So, she actually said we can do just one podium.
What about two at the end? Because she got them going at the same time. Sean, and whoever.
Yeah, the only reason I put something to do, like, I'm so sorry, but we'll get you obviously as we can, but like,
Y'all just hold on.
thank God it's not a bunch of girls, because that happened last year. There were like girls going through sorority recruitment, they got stuck in the elevator for like 20 minutes. And there was like 7 of them, and we were like panicking, like, oh my gosh, it was really bad, but.
Hey, are you guys all good over
Do you have an SG tablecloth?
Oh, that's because the camera shut off for a minute, so I had to put it back. Yeah, it's just that the camera, because the power down here disconnected, you gotta watch out with the power cord.
It's right there.
It's about
When I come back down.
5.
Box. So, to like, to what extent do you think? No.
Like you're not saying.
Right.
You're
helping.
the way you're framing.
Well, like the other day, like warning of the event or something.
Okay, good. All right, well, you come back down.
So,
Okay, good. And if you guys get the name,
SG
give
events,
the name and title.
like for example, this event has outside local attendance. So if we cancel the event,
Yeah, that's
now
cool.
we're looking back to the outside
Right.
of the university. So all depends on the level of event, the magnitude of the event, type of thing, that you kind of make those discretions.
Yeah.
But if it was just a normal type of situation, then
But he still has to approve everything.
he does.
Okay.
He does. But then you get me involved at that point.
Okay.
Get me involved at that point.
Okay.
All right. Have you met Dr. Oliver?
I don't know if we have
Let
official.
me introduce you to Dr. Oliver. Dr. Oliver, this is one of my event coordinators, Lauren. Well, this is Dr. Oliver.
Hi.
Associate
I know I've
VP.
seen you around, but I don't think we've officially met. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so she's one of our event coordinators. Organizing and new professional. So. Dr. Oliver, who's Associate Vice President of Student Outreach and Diversity. Got it.
It hasn't changed.
Okay. Very well.
Nice. Everything looks good. Brian Britton said he's probably going to swing by around 6:30.
Okay. PD's supposed to be here. They're supposed to do a walk. They're going to do a walk by. They're not suspecting anything major. So it should be okay. I haven't heard anything and seen anything, so
Dr. Fairman will be here to do the welcoming.
okay. They haven't advertised either. I haven't seen any advertising about it yet. Last minute.
Unless they're like promoting it online or putting it through social media.
They did this. I found out. I'm just saying.
It started at 80 and it was possibly 600. And then she said 200.
She first came in with wanting to be Barry Cake.
Well, they didn't know if they were
She's supposed to be blessing these kids and by you and all this other foolishness.
all of these stories.
Okay. All this other mess they got going on.
You okay?
Hey, how y'all doing? Hello?
So I think Jacqueline said she wanted the candidates to sit in the back. I'm gonna go get we have shirts and hoodies that have the American flag portion is actually a QR code that takes people to register to vote online. So, yeah.
Wow.
So we have to go get like 20 boxes downstairs. So I'm gonna go do that.
Help?
And we got manpower. That's okay.
Okay.
You speaking is enough. Thank you.
Andrea, Mike Caruso. Pleasure to meet you. Sir Kevin. Kevin? Yes, sir. Pleasure to meet you. And this is Nate. This is Nate with the key.
I'm Lauren.
Lauren, pleasure to meet you, Lauren. With FAU Government Relations. FAU Student Body.
I'm Lauren. It's alright, it's alright. No, I mean,
Actually, yeah, how about you? I'm with the student union, associate director. Wow. Yep.
I'm with the student union as well. I'm an event coordinator.
You got pretty big. You got quite the event set up here. All these seats, that's gonna be amazing. I believe she actually, she had the cameras reserved over
something
this front row.
adjusting
On
to it.
the right side?
He was telling me, he's like, I saw
okay.
the picture.
Really, I went
Last night to see if they were there. When it's gonna be published online.
Hide behind the curtain.
They were there.
Ignore the man behind the curtain.
Okay, to get people to read it, the paper.
They can pick it up. It's a nice venue, though. You know? Very nice. Believe it or not, this is the campus. Really? Yeah, no, it's they still do books, right? Yeah, yeah.
I prefer books.
And was it?
So it's the same, you can't write in mine.
You know, I make notes on my laptop screen, and then they become, you know, so not applicable when I go to a different slide. It just doesn't work so well, you know?
From like months ago.
I'm old school.
I was like,
So,
yeah.
as much as they say computers were gonna save the forest of the world, heck no.
Oh, no.
I'm a CPA, with tax returns, and you just prepare a tax return, you get your forms from the IRS, you go pick them up.
Are you guys good right now?
Sit there with
You guys good
pencil,
right
and
here?
you do the return.
Good right here?
you
Anything?
change, and when you finally get
It's
done,
working, nothing?
you go over it with
Give us a
like
cable.
a felt tip, marks it,
Alright,
you know, over and permanent, the numbers. You'd have, you know, 10
Yeah, we
pages,
had audience.
first page,
I
and
checked
second
upstairs.
page reassigned. Then if you itemize, you
Alright,
got
cool.
A, and maybe B, you might have 10 pages with a long return. Okay? Now, you hit that button, print, and that same return is 112 pages. Wow. And we're saving paper because of computers, you know, paperless society. And you know, it's just insane. So you hit it, it's 112 pages, and you review it now. You know, because the input screens are crazy. So you review it, and you go, oh, there's a mistake. So you fix the mistake, hit print, another 112 pages.
Wow.
We've gone from 10 pages to 200. And a typical return take, and then you got to print, you know, 3 copies of it. And so that's another, so 500 pages for a return that used to be 10 pages. And if you copied it, you know, you get one, imagine 30 with a copy for the client's copy and keep for yourself. You know, it's 500.
Wow.
It's just wow.
Okay, well,
Like, you know,
well,
just gotta try to fix this.
Right.
Just ridiculous. And worksheet after worksheet after worksheet after yeah. So, wow. So how long are we gonna get this to speak? You know, I believe, is there a clock? We're gonna get cut?
Yeah, it's about 15 minutes per bit.
Okay, initially. Or does that include questions?
It does, I don't believe it includes questions.
Okay, so I'll just get up and do my thing. And somebody else can get that. Here. Excuse me, I need that microphone.
Do you know if Jackie included question time within the time for the speakers?
Why don't you sit down,
Okay.
baby?
Sure.
Front
No,
right.
that's okay.
Sit right behind me, baby. Sit right behind me. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What are the candidates you expect?
Bobby Powell, Ashley Moody, Shaw,
Ashley Moody's coming? Cool.
by Representative Jones, Representative
Great, that great eyes. Yeah, to be able to see that. Oh my gosh. So I'm on at 7:15. Okay, we're good. I'll relax then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jackie.
I'm changing my shoes, sorry, don't look.
Good, you better run a marathon. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just saw your car, I left the call, I left the. Okay, do you have my keys?
Yeah.
Okay. My shoes don't count. Everything good? Okay.
You need anything?
Just these little things.
Breathe.
Jeez, that's amazing.
You're asking me a question? Who's, what's his name? Oh, no, no. No. No city council.
Am I underdressed? It's kind of hot outside.
We're candidates, so don't go by us.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
We're very early, so.
What is the job?
Yeah.
Dr. Andrea, what room do they call this?
This is Grand Palm.
Grand Palm room. Thank you.
the one who's gonna be helping out.
Alright, you ready to go?
Is there a chair that you can use? Could you just grab one of the chairs or? Okay.
Well, don't you want to cut out the deal here?
Did you get the stuff? Thank you.
Fine.
So did Kevin get them okay? You look great. Thanks. Did Kevin not get the stuff?
Yeah, we're just gonna have one.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Through here.
Make sure it's line.
You have to look through here.
You see this as a little live red in there?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. So just stay on the phone, see brands and everything. Like keep looking at it, a couple like 5 minutes. These guys are all over. If so, I think just wear that. Yeah. Just don't take it. If people stand up like that or real. Just leave it. Yeah.
They'll sit like that.
Yeah. I know it's just monitor it.
You'll come back down and check out our
Yeah, I work at Oh, because you were volunteering, right? That's funny. Okay. I work at
Oh, you're glad? Nah, we have this big one.
yeah, but it's on my yeah, they've been doing that. Okay, and it's like random classes.
Is it?
You know, someone to put
And whoever press word,
No,
just leave it
it's
and okay, alright.
on YouTube.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I know. I wish it was spelled that. Where do you live?
I live off Lincoln.
I can't
I
wait
just
to see you. I wish it was
before.
so much.
Yeah.
Bam. Easy. Done.
Yeah. I have Carol history.
I love it. The school newspaper. You want to step ahead of me?
She works in that plaza that's right by, Mike's office.
So I have that all the time.
You know where, the signs are currently, Trader Joe's and, really good Chanel's.
Right.
I go to Venetian now, so she works right next to there, but that's not gonna be anything.
It's by the egg place, another broken egg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who knows about that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my major. I'm a junior right now, so. I originally wanted to be a major, but, yeah.
You didn't see him as on social media?
What? Kevin. That thing.
You're just gonna have everyone steal them behind your back.
He was like.
Literally, they came right.
Yeah, you can have the copies.
Oh, great, great.
Okay, well,
Don't sweat. Don't
okay, I
sweat
just
a
need to know.
sweatshirt, bro.
No, but I've been asked that numerous times.
Oh, okay.
Figured. Not that I know of. But who knows, we could be related.
Yeah.
I mean, my last name's pretty uncommon, so.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Student government?
Yes, I'm Noah.
No, Mike Caruso.
Nice to meet you. Congrats on your win, by the way.
Thank you. Excited about it?
Yeah.
Points?
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Forgot about that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Grassroots campaign with 19,000 viewers.
Sports perfectly played for me.
Did you work on it?
I didn't work on a state house campaign. I actually worked on a gubernatorial campaign. Yeah. Close to being.
Yeah. Funny to avoid.
We all were, yeah. We definitely didn't expect the bill to win. Yeah.
Green and Graham split it up.
Yeah.
Beat on each other.
They're pretty similar.
They beat up on each other so much.
When Jeffrey entered the race, he
That was
pretty much with the other,
the other, 12%.
he saw a lot of the,
12%.
yeah, just about, he saw a lot of the senior vote.
Yeah, I always have to do it religiously.
We're hoping for a larger turnout here. And, yeah. Nice meeting you.
You know, we're expecting spring.
It's awesome.
We're expecting spring.
Yeah. I was hoping spring.
Was it easy? Did you get?
It's funny, my mom, Spritz's mom, apparently on the same place for like early voting or like elections. And apparently like Spritz were like two to one.
Really? Because like, you know, like,
Spritz had a D rating. It was kind of surprising.
like, even though I'm a Democrat, I'm strong on Israel.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm kind of
Yeah. And what? Yeah.
hot pretty sick. Oh, and I haven't even,
What?
hot pretty sick.
What kind of videos do you have?
It's, kind of like a recent marker on the screen. On the front, it's all black. On the front, it has the red flag QR code, to register to vote on the back of our SG.
Oh, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Oh, nice, nice, that's awesome.
How are you? Tell me about it. We always are. Hi, how are you? I'm very good. How are you? Good, good.
My wife Pamela.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So, where is everybody?
No,
Where are those interested students?
I know, that's the same thing.
You promised food?
no, it was shirts and hoodies.
That's the
Actually, you should have promised free pizza. Then you would have had food.
We had free pizza last night. We had a larger turnout. So,
See?
yeah.
Oh my God. Who let you in here?
You want free food? Pizza's a good,
Exactly.
I bought everything from my apartment. Away.
You should.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, actually, it's too late for the appetizer. Good thing I brought my own snack.
Hi, Tracy.
Nice, how are you?
I'm friends with Lance, who's running the Ag Commissioner's race. Matt Caldwell. Also friends with Hunter, who's running up in Lakeland. Waltz, Mike Waltz. He's running for up in Lakeland.
But you know,
So,
I kind of got
He wanted me to hunt you down and see what you wanted to
interesting.
for people to
well,
canvas.
he's losing the same as
Really
well.
nice. Okay. I don't have any cards on me. I came straight from class. As you can see, I wasn't planning on coming today. Perfect. Thank you so much. Madison Andrews. Nice to meet you. Perfect. Thank you.
That's what you call when they get to work. If you say your opponent's name, if you say your opponent's name, you work for YouTube? Oh, so where you're streaming on YouTube? Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Okay. This is a Civic Engagement Week put on by the state of Florida. And each university in the state of Florida has their different like versions. So UF has a version, FSU has a version. So it's not turning out so well, but this is not good. But it's like Owl TV. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, coming for Owl
I'm
TV.
with Owl Radio, the sports podcast.
So when my friends up in American flashes, oh, you heard that? They're out
What?
auditioning marketing student for the election.
Like the street team?
Well, not street team per se, but
You saw their Instagram story? Who told you about it?
some friends told me about it that they're hiring for marketing.
Social media? Yeah. It's not like a job per se, it's an internship.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a like
Are you like photographer? Videographer? Do you have I know a lot of photographers as well. Photographers and videographers. I know photographers for not just football, but for every sport. I wanted to give you an email.
is it Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan. Okay, yeah. Just, yeah.
Hi Kate, how are you?
I'm good, how are you? Good. I like your dress. Looks pretty. Thank you.
We had a cool team for last Saturday's game against Air Force. My roommate signed up to be soccer, and Ryan told me to do a practice at 8 a.m. and slept in until 1 p.m. So I was like, yeah.
I went to the football practice twice at like 7 or 8 in the morning. It was fine. Like the girl who recruited me was doing a good job with it. Like contacting me.
What was her name?
I don't know, but see, I just need all this.
You know my voice? Yes, I mean, was I that room so fast, but I said, I made it out. This is when you were like, I was like, well, I can't move it. So that's what it did, right? And then she got
Okay.
It's a nice shirt. Are you working for YouTube or are you just representing?
Not like that.
Oh, okay. Well, you have a YouTube channel. They pay you.
Not right now.
Okay. So how do you work for them? Then? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay.
Not that one, but the other one. The one that like but it's like the second one.
Are you broadcasting or just recording?
Away from the. That's no, that's not baseball players. Tony.
Star? People. Maybe I'll be a star. Maybe someone if I'd known that, I would have. If I'd thought about it, if I'd known that, I would have put some jokes in and tried to be a little more entertaining. Because I could have stuff together, could have had my big break, like trimmed my beard, worn something a little different. But you know, it's alright. I'll have enough
Oh, good. He won.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know who you're doing.
Well, I mean, not in that episode.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. I just want to thank you all for being so patient. We're going to get started with our program. For those who don't know, my name is Jacqueline Levain. I'm the current Governmental Relations Director here at Florida Atlantic University, and I would like to introduce our Dean of Students, Dr. Larry Fairman.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our students as well as our distinguished guests. My name is Dr. Larry Fairman. I serve as the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students at Florida Atlantic University. I am not running for office in this cycle. I do, however, serve as the Director of Girls Soccer for the Soccer Association of Boca Raton. And I say that for a couple reasons. Number one, there's various ways in which you can serve your community. There's boards of directors. There are a lot of community engagement opportunities that I encourage our students to become involved in. And we make policy at Sabre for over 2,000 players and their families. So our reach is pretty wide. So while I kind of say it a little bit in jest, we do take our volunteer positions very seriously. And so to some degree, some people say, well, I don't get involved because it doesn't matter, or I don't vote because it doesn't matter. But as we talk to our students, Change is slow, and I can say that even for myself, being in my mid-40s, I am now seeing the outcome of decisions that were made by elected officials 10, 15, 20 years ago. And so for you all who are coming today, and some of our students will be voting for the first time in these elections in November, that the decisions that we make today at the polling places will make their impact for you most likely 5, 10, 15, 20 years from today. So the time to vote is now. While we say there's time for change, the change does start today. We are in an election year, as you all know. It's an exciting election year because we have a midterm, we have a senatorial race, we have a gubernatorial race. For those of you that are Boca Raton residents, we most recently elected a new mayor, as well as a new city council member. So when we talk about change, sometimes it comes one at a time and sometimes it sweeps through. In understanding that the time is now, for those of you that did not see the press release earlier this week, we do have an early voting station that will be taking place on our campus over near the housing building. So we're very excited about that for our students. Hopefully that will slow the number of people coming onto our campus to pick up our students and drive them to the polling places because we have them here. And that will take place towards the middle of October, or actually towards the end of October. And fortunately, homecoming is also aligned with Election Day, so it should be a great time for our students to become very involved. When I was growing up, I couldn't wait to vote. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a household where both of my parents voted. They took me to the polling place, and so when I turned 18, it was almost considered a rite of passage, similar to some of the 21-year-old rites of passage that we see at our college campuses. That excitement, however, seems to have waned to some degree for some of our 18 to 21-year-olds, and really it should be seen as a rite of passage, and that's why I'm even more excited with the fact that we do have a polling place on our campus, not just early voting, but also on Election Day, where it'll take place over in our basketball arena. Over the course of my voting life, I've been a member of 3 parties, finally settling in as NPA, or non-party affiliate, which I need to tell people is different than being independent. So my parents often tell me that I should be registered so that I can vote in the primaries, but you know, I've just decided that I will be myself as an NPA person. But voting and representation go to the founding of our country, and so if you look back to the early days, the Declaration of Independence, where it's most likely known for taxation without representation, most people think about the taxation part, the money part, which seems to be most important to people even today, when it was really more about the representation part. The other piece I want to speak to about the Declaration of Independence is that it was unanimous. And so while we can see the word unanimous, a lot of time, effort, and energy went into making it unanimous. And while we might say that the troubles of today are much deeper than the troubles of yesteryear, I'm going to take the opportunity to read from a couple of the lines of the Declaration of Independence in hope that you will find some degree of alignment with some of the issues that we face today. One of these speaks to, he, as in the king, has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. So when we talk about immigration back in 1776, immigration is a hot topic today as well. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. We see quite frequent debates about our Supreme Court. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. I think trade never really goes away. And for imposing taxes on us without our consent. Many issues that we do see today, we saw in 1776. I also want to go back to the Declaration of Independence, where it states that basically our principles in organizing our powers inform as they seem most likely to affect our safety and our happiness. And somewhere along the way, while safety has continued to be paramount, our happiness somehow have taken a second seat. And so, when we take a look at our Constitution, that is the how, but when we look at our Declaration of Independence, that is the why we are the way that we are in this country. And so from the beginning, it's been important to vote, but it's more important to both read and understand the issues that we face. Again, both read and understand. And while it can be easy for us to see the news in the 40 character bite of a Twitter or in the photo of an Instagram, I really want to impress upon you the importance of reading as well as understanding the issues. Read about and know your candidates. Look at their body of work, the merits of their accomplishments as well as the accomplishments of their associates, and understand that no one is flawless. We have an opportunity to change, and to some degree, if we look deep into the candidates, probably somewhere where everybody's ideas meet is where we potentially should be. So following the election, it's important for us to challenge, yet support those that have been elected in place so that we can work together to accomplish the needs of our citizenry. To not only engage in the election cycle, but to engage 365 days a year on the local level, the regional level, the state level, and the national level. Not forgetting our impact on the international world as well. And so whether or not we choose to lead from the grassroots up or from the top down, it is important for us to remember as individuals that in order to be the change that we want to see in the world, we have to act on the change that we want to see in the world. So thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you listened well to the individuals that we have speaking this evening, and that come November or before, you make an informed decision. Thank you so much, and go Owls.
Can we get another round of applause for Dr. Farron? So next we have a representative from NextGen. Her name is Alexa McCullough-Johnson, and she will briefly talk about NextGen and what they are doing. So please welcome her to the stage.
So hi everyone, my name is Alexa McCullough-Johnson. I am a fellow with NextGen America. We are a part of the Region 5 FAU Turf. NextGen is a nonpartisan nonprofit organization with the aim of increasing the youth vote. So all you want to do is get young people to vote. So young people ages 18 to 35 are the largest voting bloc in the United States. So we are the largest we're the largest group able to make a change. We strongly request that you exercise your right to vote, as not everyone had it in various points in history. If you need to newly register to vote, update your address, update your party affiliation, or just request a new card, please see us, me and Catherine, in the back, and we have a 1-minute survey for you. Also to get to know what you care about. Florida amends its constitution every 20 years. So we have sample ballots that you can request so that you can be well versed on how to vote when it comes time to vote, because it probably will take some time at the polling location. And we do have a polling location here on FAU campus. So if you would like to register to vote with your dorm address, please feel free to do so. We have those opportunities in the back as well. So yeah, please come see us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, NextGen. Can we get another round of applause for her? Our next speaker is Mr. Robert Weinroth. He is a 20-year resident of Boca Raton, Florida, where he is an attorney, businessman, and Palm Beach County property owner. He is also running for County Commission in District 4, and I'm sure he'll introduce himself better than I could. Now, without further ado, Robert Weinroth.
Jacqueline, I appreciate that. And I'm not here because of my own election, I'm here because of the other elections here. But I'm going to introduce this subject a little bit and carry on the subject that we just heard about as far as voting. And it's really important that you understand really why it is that you need to be voting, and that's going to be the aim of my speech over the next couple of minutes. I could use the Jewish guilt on you and say, you know, it's your civic responsibility. But the real issue here is that to make a change, to do it in our civil society, we need to vote. Now, you probably heard the previous speaker say, well, you know, people feel that it's not important that I vote because, you know, what's 1 or 2 votes? If I don't vote, they're going to still make the same decision. Well, I'll tell you, in the last election that happened right here in Boca Raton, it really came down to very few votes to make the decision who was going to sit on the city council. In fact, on the evening of as the votes were being counted, there was a tie vote at about midnight. Now, things started changing as the supervisor of elections started taking the provisional election results or the ballots out, and ultimately the election was decided based upon the provisional ballots and on a recount. But even the presidential election of Gore versus Bush was an election that was really on less than 1,000 votes on a national basis that really was the result of one candidate becoming president versus the other. And to the point of whether you should even affiliate with a party. This is something that a lot of people, especially younger people, say, well, I don't want to get involved in party politics. I'm going to be an NPA, a no party affiliate. The problem with that is that you have to stand out and wait out the primary election. You don't have any opportunity to select who is going to be on the general election ballot. So when you get there in November, you say, how did these people get here? The answer is the people who did go to the ballots in the earlier voting during the primary made the selection that now you are stuck with. So when I lived up in Massachusetts, we used to have a system where you could be an NPA, you would come to the voting booth, you'd say, okay, I want to be a Republican today. They'd say, okay, here's your ticket, go into the Republican machine and do your ballot. You'd come out of the machine, you'd say, okay, I want to be an NPA again. They'd give you a form and you would re-register immediately and you would walk out of the room as an NPA again. But you had the opportunity to vote. That's not a system we have here in Florida. It would be really a great system for enfranchising more voters. But it's important that you understand that your vote is going to matter. In the shadow of Parkland, we're expecting that we're going to have a lot more youthful voters in there. And it's going to be important that you not only register, but that you vote. And the fact of the matter is this is going to be a very important election, not only for the people that are going to be on the ballot, and we're going to be hearing from some of those people tonight, but there are going to be constitutional revisions possible. Every 20 years, our state has a commission that looks at our Constitution and says, what can we do to make it more modern, deal with problems that have arisen over the last 2 decades, and again, modernize the document. And that Constitutional Revision Commission met, and they had about a dozen different issues that they wanted to put before the electorate, and then they mashed them together into 8 ballot questions, which is now being challenged in the courts. One of those questions has been thrown out. The Supreme Court of Florida is going to be hearing 3 more questions before the next couple of weeks is up, and one or more of those questions may be thrown out. But these are important questions. They're going to affect our Constitution, which is, again, the framework of our government here. And there are other questions on there which are going to be important as far as taxation. There's a thing called homestead in our state, and there's a question on there whether to raise homestead, which is like saying, do you want more ice cream? Because if you raise homestead, you're going to lower taxes. But if you lower taxes, the question is, are you going to get the same amount of services? These are things, as voters, you're going to have to make a decision about. So it's very, very important that not only you vote, but that you encourage your friends to vote. And I would encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to consider voting by mail. because, as was said before, we're going to have a very complicated ballot. There will be probably between 10 and 13 questions on there after you get through all the candidates. And, you know, if an 80-year-old is in front of you and it's going to take them about a half hour to read through those ballot questions, it's going to be a long day on November 6th. So if you haven't done so already, I would encourage you to consider applying for a vote by mail. And if you don't vote by mail, then definitely early voting. Now that FAU is an early voting location, you have no excuses. People have excuses in the HOAs and the country clubs where they have a precinct right there next to their first tee, and somehow they have too many things to do before going and voting. So don't be like my friends who are in the country clubs and would rather play golf than vote. Make sure that you vote, and that's going to be what's going to set the stage for what's going to happen up in Tallahassee, our new governor, our new state representatives, what's going to happen in Washington with a new senator. So again, I encourage you to remember it is your civic responsibility, and if I need to do Jewish guilt, then that's the way we're going to do it. So thank you very much. Okay. Hello, there we go. All right, so the first candidate we're going to call up is Mike Caruso.
How's everybody doing tonight? Wow, great. I want to thank Jacqueline for the invite and the FAU student government for putting this on. It's a great opportunity and I'm so excited about being here. And I'm really excited about, young people getting involved in the political system. And you're here and your testimony to it. And I encourage you all to get out there and get your friends out there to vote, like Robert was saying. And get them out there to vote. Get involved in the process and be part of the excitement of Florida politics. And that election that Robert was talking about, I think it came down to 19 votes, and that was the difference out of 15,000 or something like that votes. For 19 votes to make the difference of a city commission seat is really incredible. So and get out. I've seen elections decided by one vote, which is crazy. Robert, could I switch with you? Could I take that one? Because this one keeps going in and out. Let's see if this is working. Can you turn this back on? Or did you turn it on? Test. Okay. So that or are they going to be able to hear me on the... Make that work? Because I know they're live feed, broadcasting it live. You broke it, Robert.
Working with me, Michael.
So we'll use this one.
Check.
Oh, there you go. Be very gentle with it, right? Okay, thank you. The man with the great hair. Look at that. That's something. So anyway, I'm Mike Caruso. I'm running for the Florida House District 89. Florida House Rep, District 89. Which, this is so frustrating. Just hold the cord, because I think the problem connection. Back to this one. There we go. We'll try it like this. Okay. I'm Mike Caruso, running for Florida House Representative, District 89. And District 89 runs from Boca Raton, south end of Boca Raton, all the way to Singer Island. And if you're watching from another college, university in the state system here, it's Palm Beach County, which is on the east side of the state of Florida. And it's 36 miles long, and it's about 200,000 people. And so it's a pretty big district. And and that's what I'm running for. So I hope to represent you, and Florida FAU is part of that district. So when you go out to vote, you're going to see my name on the ballot. Now, I was expecting to be here with my opponent, a guy named Jim Bonfiglio. He was invited, and apparently he thinks that there must be something else really big going out there in District 89 tonight, because he's not here. He chose to send somebody. I'm sure he's going to read something that represents his position on it, but you know, I don't think it's fair to you guys. I think it's important to be here in front of you and let you know who the candidate really is, not somebody standing for it. But so I look forward to that debate with Jim someday. And but for now, I'm the one you got. I moved into District 89 back in 1986. I've lived here, worked here, raised 7 children in the district. One of my sons right here, Danny, you might know him. He's a really good quarterback, and he's getting he had, I think, 12 offers from different schools, and is looking for a few more. So anyway, I've raised 7 children here, and I've lived, served, and worked here. I'm a forensic CPA, and if you don't know what a forensic CPA is, a CPA is a certified public accountant. A forensic CPA, we don't really deal with dead people. What we deal with is people steal money, and then we get hired to figure out how much money they took, and then go find it. So I'm kind of like a treasure hunter, okay? And I find money for a living, and it's a real exciting field. And if you're an accounting major, okay, any accounting majors here? Okay, there, Noah. Okay, Noah's an accounting major. I really encourage you to get into the field of forensics. There's great opportunity in it. It's very lucrative, and it's fun and exciting. I've never been bored as a forensic CPA my whole life, and I've been doing this for 40 years. So it's a real exciting field to go into. And right now, currently, my family and I live in Delray Beach. And we've lived there for a while. I've served on 4 boards in the city: the Police Advisory Board, they're city-appointed boards, the Police Advisory Board, Parking Management Advisory Board. Don't blame me if you get a ticket. I vote no on all these parking fees. I just like free parking. You know, I liked it when I played Monopoly. I still like it today. So, and I'm on the West Atlantic Redevelopment Coalition Board, and I serve as the chairman of the Economic Committee for work in the city of downtown Delray Beach. I'm a president of a homeowner association, president of a condo association, but the best thing and most rewarding thing to me is I was a Little League coach for 30 years. And I don't know if I coached anybody here, but it's so rewarding. You know, you get people coming up to you and go, "Hey, Coach Mike, how you doing?" And I'm looking at this 6'2" man, okay, with his wife, pushing a baby stroller and carrying another child. And I'm going, huh? Who are you? Oh, you're Johnny. 12-year-olds last time I saw you. And now he's full grown. You know, he's 32 years old, and he's big, and he's doing this thing in the world today, and it's so cool. And it's so rewarding to think that I had a little part in their lives. And along with being a Cub Scout leader for 7 or 8 years, I don't even remember. But this election is about, it's not about me, it's about the issues. It's about the issues that you and I wake up to every single day. And that's what it's really about, okay? It's about education. It's about we need to make sure that that education is affordable, that our education is safe, and that we provide our students with the best program in the United States. Right now, I mean, the state of Florida, 12 different universities in the system, we have 5 of them that are in the top 100 schools. 5 of them top 100 schools. FIU just made it into the, Jeff, right? FIU just made it into the top 100. Congratulations to all the FIU students. And FAU is right on the cusp of being top 100 schools in the country, and that's so exciting. And we need to provide the funds, okay, to the university system to make sure that the students are getting the best education in the country. There's no reason we shouldn't have the best education. And then there's the economy. Other issues, the economy. You know, without a strong economy, there won't be any jobs for you guys after you graduate, okay? And that's what we got to make sure, that we have a strong, vibrant economy, that creates jobs on a constant basis and allows you to have the opportunity when you do graduate, or even before you graduate, to get involved in internship programs. And I was talking to a guy named Kevin, encouraging him to get involved in an internship program. There he is back there. I think he's vice president of the student government or something here. And so it's important that that you all have these jobs available when you do graduate. And then there's the environment. Okay, we need to make sure that we solve blue-green algae, that we fund study research. We provide research grants to our university system to solve the red tide problem that's killing all the manatees and all the sea turtles out there in Tampa. And we got to make sure the blue-green algae doesn't work its way down to here in the Palm Beach. In fact, we just need to fix it. And in fact, we should be in session right now because I think it's an emergency. You all think it's an emergency, the blue-green? Yeah, I mean, it's killing everything. And it's hurting our environment, it's hurting our economy, it needs to be fixed down. They have to wait, think that we have to wait till March to fix this problem is just so wrong. But and also we need, our beaches and our reefs, our live reefs, we got to protect those. Make sure we have clean drinking water and, coming from our aquifers. We got to make sure we don't pollute our aquifers. So, issues like that. And then there's immigration. And we've got to make sure that we protect our borders. That I want you to understand. I want to make it clear right from the start. I'm from a family of immigrants. I mean, my grandparents came over when my grandparents came over in the late 1800s. They came over in the early 1900s, but they came over legally, and we need to do that because we need to know who's in the country, and that's important. And that goes back to part of safety in their schools. Okay. And so we need to do that. And then here's another issue that you probably won't hear from a state legislator candidate. Okay? How about traffic? Does anybody wake up to traffic every morning and kind of roll their eyes and go, oh my God, I got to go through this again, right? I was on Spanish River Boulevard, right? And just the other day, and a line backing up all the way to Military to turn into FAU. Okay, and we need to fix that. We did that great intersection. People don't think it's a state issue. People think it's a local issue. We live it locally. The state of Florida, that's the Florida Department of Transportation. You ever heard of FDOT? They're the ones that built all the roads and all the bridges and did this great FAU intersection here in Boca Raton. And we need to make sure those projects get done. We need to make sure they get done more efficiently. We need to make sure they get done over a quicker period of time so we can have better traffic, okay, and more efficient traffic flow through our cities throughout the state of Florida. I think that's important. I don't know how long I got, but I'm almost done. Finish up here. Okay, so this race is about the issues. Okay, it is. I just won a primary against a candidate by 12.5 points, against a candidate who his entire platform was a negative campaign against Mike Caruso. Well, it doesn't work. It didn't work then. It doesn't work now. And it's because this race is about the issues, the ones that I just went over and the others. This race is about the issues that you and I wake up to every day. This race is about you, and all of you watching on your computers out there. That's what this race is really about. We need to get out there. We need people that are willing to make the necessary changes. We need people out there that are willing to bring common sense solutions to the problems that we wake up to every day. What we don't need is candidates controlled by Tallahassee insiders. We don't need candidates that are controlled by the political. Yeah. We don't need people controlled by the political powerhouse of Florida, and we don't need people that are controlled by the Bonfilios of the world. Okay. And instead, what we need are people that want to make changes. I'm not controlled. I owe no favors to anybody in this race right now. I don't. I didn't take money from anybody that's going to control me, and I won't. I'm a political outsider, and I want to shake things up when I get to Tallahassee. And aren't we tired of politics as usual? Aren't we? Are you tired of politics as usual? Don't we want to shake things up? That's what I want to do when I get to Tallahassee. So I ask you, I promise you that I will stand up for students in the state of Florida. I promise you that. And I ask you to stand by me and vote for Mike Caruso for Florida House Rep, District 89, on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We're going to now have the representative for Representative Bonifiglio to come up, and then later we might have some questions.
Okay, great.
Thank you. So Melanie Tolchin is here to represent Mayor Bonifiglio, who is the mayor from Ocean Ridge, who is the Democratic opponent.
Hi guys, I'm Melanie Tolchin. I just want to say I want to apologize for Jim Bonifiglio not being able to be here tonight. He actually is in Tallahassee and profusely apologizes for not being able to be here. I have a ton of lit. If you'd like to look at his lit, look at his website, his positions, his issues. If you want to come volunteer on a campaign with us and canvass with us, let me know. I'm running his field organization, his field program, and I can give you our campaign phone number. And I have a bunch of lit. If you want to take it, look at his website and his issues. So once again, I'm sorry that he can't be here tonight. I apologize for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is going to be representing Ted Deutsch's office.
Let's see if I have a little better luck with this mic. My name is Brandy Edelson. I'm representing Congressman Ted Deutsch. He is the congressman here for FAU, representing the 22nd Congressional District, which runs from Highland Beach through Boca, all the way down to Fort Lauderdale, to the airport, and out west to Coral Springs, Parkland, Coconut Creek, and Margate. It's a huge district. Does anyone live in that area? Okay, a few people. If you register to vote here at FAU, then you will live in his district. A few words about myself and the congressman. I am a proud graduate here from FAU. Thank you. I was involved in student government, so thank you, student government, for hosting this. I was the student body governor when I was here many, many years ago. I look young, but go find my plaque on the wall, you'll realize how old I am. And I'm so proud of the education I got here, and mostly the experience I got here. The reason I work in politics is because I got experience working in campaigns, volunteering when I was a student, and that got my career started, and I've been working in politics pretty much ever since. So please get involved if this interests you. I'm proof that there's lots of opportunities out there, and campaigns and offices love to hire good FAU students. Now about the congressman. So the congressman was elected in 2010 in a special election. He's been serving in Congress since April 2010. He's currently the ranking Democrat on the Middle East Subcommittee. He's the ranking Democrat on the Ethics Committee, which does exist in Congress. And he is on the Judiciary Committee, which is a committee that hears a lot of important issues, especially these days. The congressman's really passionate about all the issues that I'm sure resonate with you all and resonate here in the district. He represents Parkland, obviously, finding an issue to keep students safe on campus and keeping citizens safe all over, whether they're at a shopping mall, a movie theater, a sporting event, or anywhere else, is one of his highest priorities. It was his priority before the tragedy at Marjory Stoneman Douglas, and has only been elevated since that incident. He, obviously working on the Middle East Subcommittee, he travels abroad, meets with elected officials in other countries, working on issues to strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship, deal with Iran and their nuclear power situation, and other issues such as Syria and those complicated issues. He also is on the Ethics Committee. The Ethics Committee in Congress is where, if you've been following the Me Too movement and some of the pushback that has been going on with employers and sexual harassment against men and women, those types of issues and many others, ethical issues such as campaign finance laws, not just related to sexual harassment, but all those types of issues start in the Ethics Committee. It's a equal number of Republicans and Democrats that sit on that committee, and here they investigate each other when a complaint is brought to Congress, and they have to have a unanimous decision to move forward with any decision on that committee. So if you hear in the news something happened with a member of Congress, they're being pursued or suggested that they had a campaign finance violation or a sexual harassment, that came out of the Ethics Committee, and Congressman Deutsch is the ranking Democrat. It's a really prestigious position, and I think it says a lot about his character. The Congressman also, one of his biggest accomplishments and highest priorities is dealing with sea level rise. It's a huge issue here for his issue that stretches from Boca Raton down to Fort Lauderdale and has the whole coast. That issue he decided to tackle in a bipartisan way, which had not been done before in Congress. He created a bipartisan climate solutions caucus, only allowing a Democrat to join if they brought a Republican member, only allowing a Republican member to join if they brought a Democrat. So the committee is currently equal members of Republicans and Democrats working together to tackle sea level rise. And I think that also shows a lot about his character and the way he wants to solve problems in Congress in a bipartisan way, in a really thoughtful way. I hope you have the chance to hear from him. He is in Washington right now, doing his job. That's where you would want him to be. I know you would want him to be here, but I think having him in DC, casting the votes that you need him to cast on your behalf is really important. So that's why he's not here and you get me. But I hope in the future you have a chance to see him and interact with him. I also want to give a shout out before I go to Luke, my favorite intern, and another student body governor. So thank you, Luke, for hosting this and all of student government, and thank you all for being here. Thank you for being involved. If you have questions about how to register to vote, get involved in any campaign or any civic duties, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to share my personal experience. I'm happy to share opportunities on how to get involved at other elected officials' offices, volunteer, take an internship, and when you graduate, consider working in the field. It's very rewarding. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to stick around and answer them.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have a representative for Representative Chevron Jones yet? Has he arrived?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
First off, can we give one more round of applause to everyone who's already presented in front of you all? At this time, I'd like to invite up our student body president, Mr. Kyle McDonald, for a quick announcement, and then we will go into a brief intermission, and you will know why in a couple seconds.
How's everyone doing? Good. So, something quick, just want to show you guys. So Kevin's my model up here. Something cool that in just a second I'll tell you about, but these hoodies right here, we just got them today. But see this American flag right here? If you hold your phone up to this hoodie, it'll take you to the link to get registered to vote in the state of Florida. So, cool, right? So if you have the newer iPhones or anything like that, it'll do it automatically on the camera, or you can use Snapchat too. Any phone can do it with Snapchat. But the cool thing is, Jacqueline in the back is going to be handing them out to you guys, so you guys can all grab one. So make sure you guys tell your friends that these hoodies can get you registered to vote in the state of Florida. So if you guys want to form like an orderly line, you can go to the back of that table and grab one. Thank you. Go Owls.
Go Owls.
What size do you wear? I got medium. You want me to hold it up so you can see?
Okay, so as of right now, we only got that medium by accident. We are able to get them down.
All they have is medium. Yes.
choice.
No, I'm not. I'm actually here. I work at the university. Okay, good. Which office? Well, we used to be office of cultural affairs. Okay. We're now still for inclusion, diversity, education, and ethics. Diversity and trans. Okay.
Need help? You want me to? Oh, you
Student?
No, I'm actually the president of the student government.
Fight. Yeah.
And support FAU.
Very good. Political career at some point?
That's not what, no. I mean, it may come about.
Are you from the area?
Yeah, born and raised in the area. It's probably like my fourth time.
Okay.
Third time. People here
this is my second go around, so I worked from 2008 to 2013. Actually 2015. I stepped away with entrepreneurial work, so I have my own coaching and consulting company as well. And so then I just came back to this position about 3 months ago. Okay.
You back like you never left.
Right. I know the terrain, a lot has changed, but I still know the terrain. I enjoy it. You're doing good work, sir.
Kevin, nice to meet you. Were you at LA?
I'm the assistant director for the University student government?
Yes, sir.
This is my second go around at FAU, but my first step I worked in Broward, and then I'm working for a year involved in the student government, and I was in Broward advisor. And I'm a former in my undergraduate. I went to Elon University. Well, I'm originally from New York. So, yeah, I've been in higher ed for about 15 years. Started out at University of Florida.
I'm down.
And kind of just wanted to get back home.
Is this filming right now? Because I just... I just realized.
That's me, the guy in the sweater back here. But if you're interested in registering to vote in Florida, though, I got this really cool sweater. But, yeah, we didn't know that.
to take a picture of you?
For SG. I'll bring the jackets.
Better than yeah, right? Good dog. How you doing? Saw you at the yeah. No, yeah. I came. I walked in right as like Isaiah saw me. He's like, yeah. I started walking. He's like, no, you gotta stay for the entire time. I specifically saw no, I did right after. I know we actually get it for this. Do we? Yeah. Can we sign this? Craig, I'd ask him to take a picture or whatever in Jackson's and also this guy food. I don't know how much went to the 90s is. How you like floating Martin? It's interesting. Yeah. It reminds me a lot of people elections. I'm not gonna against it, but like minus like the Hey, it's nice to meet you. What handshake you just gave me.
Just like,
Would you really be surprised if I what you say?
it was so funny.
What?
He was like, I think he's like the vice president or something.
I am. I mean, low key, yeah. We work in the shadows. We're all real big.
Real hero for our name tag. Oh my god. Anisha, did you hear that? He was like real hero for a name tag.
You guys going to the FAU game? The UCF versus FAU?
No, you can do it for sure. I'll go to the same. I'll be a royalty. No, honestly,
Are you sponsored by Blizzard Creations?
How are you?
Everything I was like, that's a lot of work.
I know when you were saying that, I was like, what an award! I was the only one to go.
I didn't know your autograph.
I don't know about that. Some other told me, he's like, yeah, you want to work with us right out driver. And I was like, what? Yeah. I haven't done that in years.
That's what all of you knows you as.
Yeah. And all of you two knows you as the vice president.
Yeah.
And model.
See what a whole conversation will do.
I think you're creating that.
You're a model now? You said your name like 5 times and you didn't look at me once.
Literally,
Too gruesome.
You're confusing.
Big Brother is on in less than 2 hours. Absolutely, it's double eviction night. It's double eviction night. Yeah. Always been green, he's a green.
You're at
He's a green too. I don't think you can see green. You'd be a terrible dog. Dogs can see red and green. I'm a what now? What does that mean? Are you colorblind?
Oh yeah.
So I've heard racist, sexist, ageist. Never heard of ableist before. Ableist?
Is it ableist or
I think it's ableist. Ableist sounds right. Ageist. Genders, non-sexist.
Why would you think I would hate you? Fiscalist.
The Marlins are losing.
No. Did Amanda text you about anything yet?
Amanda who?
I don't know.
My phone's been, I get like half a notification. When did she send it?
Very good job. She's now there.
Oh.
I know I would. You should text me. I don't know what it does. Yeah, so talk to her. She was telling me a little bit about it. We didn't go like in depth. We didn't go like in depth about it, but I said I would. And like, no, definitely.
Really?
Oh.
What's not, you know?
11, I think it's leaving the website.
All right.
Right. You gotta be right in front of it.
That's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be there too.
All right, you out of here. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. 20. 24. No, we got 2 more today. 3, 5. Oh, yes, now we're 7. So, we're doing pretty good. It's better than I expected. I talked to you actually Stern. How do you guys promote yourself? Well, what we do, we actually just go around and just like talk to people. Like, a lot of times it's our friends, or mutual friends we have, who like people that are interested in our relationship, or just say, hey, you know, we have one over here. You let them know, it's never like, you know, and then you also let them know the limitations of that and stuff like that. Usually they stay completely in camaraderie and stuff like that. It's not, I did pretty well. I didn't get to participate in anything for Rush this semester because I was working. And everything was like right as I was like either it ended right as I got off or it was right as I was going into a class, so I really couldn't get the chance to do something. but so I'm actually tonight I have to go meet the guys because we're having some event where like you get to meet this class. It's awesome. It's better than always a pleasure. Absolutely.
You're throwing me a curveball.
Keep it rolling, man. Keep it rolling.
I was gonna say, you're very good.
Catch you later.
Okay. So we're not like inside during it.
Okay, if you want to get back to your seats, we're going to have a little more of the program now. We're going to have Mike come up for a few questions, and the rumor has it Senator Powell is in the House or close to the House, so that he'll be coming up in a few minutes. So at this time, I'd like to ask Mike to come back up to stage, and we can have a little bit of a question and answer. Thank you, Mike. And again, just to refresh your recollection, Mr. Caruso is running for District 89, House District 89. That's an open seat right now. Currently, we're being represented by Bill Hager. Bill Hager is termed out. In our state, you can't stay in office forever. And at this point, Mr. Hager is going back to private life, and Mr. Caruso is hoping to fill that seat. So, Mike, my first question to you is...
And just a note, Robert, Bill Hager's, he was supposed to be back right now, but he was fishing in Minnesota, and he's just killing it out there, so he decided to stay another month. So, but if you do know how to fillet fish, and you know how to cook them, he's inviting anybody up there to help.
Okay, I'm going to be up there. I like fillets.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, what made you decide to run for office? I mean, you know, things get thrown at you. Why would you want to do this?
Yeah, at 60 years old, why do you want to go out and run for office? And, you know, I've always been involved in the community my whole life. Like I mentioned, it was Little League Baseball, and I'm on boards in the city and all that stuff. And I think politics should be about service to the people. I don't think it should be, you know, for your own. It's really, you know, for your own benefit at all. It's about serving people. I think that's what life is about, is what you can do for others, and that's why I got involved in this thing. Because, you know, when I first proposed the idea, you know, I talked to my wife about it, and if you do get married, and it's probably a good idea to run things like that by her, you know, your spouse. You know, she said, honey, this is just, you know, look at it as just an extension of what you've been doing all your life. And I went, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, that's why I got involved.
Thank you. You know, one thing that's important for the people in the audience to know is this is not a job that pays a lot of money, that it pays less than $30,000 a year. So it's really got to be a labor of love. There's a lot of work to be done, not only in the 60-day session, but also all year on constituent services and also going up for committee work. And so it's a lot of work for not a lot of money.
No. Nobody's going to get rich in the salaries that the state of Florida pays for politicians.
Exactly. I have another question for you, and I know you touched on this during your presentation before, but can you give us the 5 attributes that you hope to accomplish if you're elected to this office?
Okay. Well, I kind of mentioned them in my original, when I first spoke, but you know, let's look at education. You know, in the K through 12, some of the things. Let's real quickly. K through 12. We test too much. Do you all remember high school? You all remember middle school and elementary school? Did you get tested a lot? Every single year. And the teachers, what do? They teach the test. Right? And I think that's wrong. We got to stop teaching the test. We got to start educating our children in K through 12. I think that's important. Also, I think we need to give children the option to not, right now we focus everybody in the direction of higher education at the university level. And we need to have another direction, an option for kids to go towards the vocations. The plumbers, electricians, carpenters, welders, and things like that. Do you know that an underwater welder, and they weld underwater, makes about $300,000 a year? It's not a bad salary. I know it's more than the politicians make up in Tallahassee. I'll make $29,000 up there. Okay, but if I was an underwater welder, $300,000. Or even, let's say you're just a welder. You go make $90,000. I've got a friend hiring now. He'll hire three welders right now if he could find them. Or get a $20,000 bonus by signing up to be a commercial driver. Drives one of the 18-wheelers. So that's just some of the things I want to start, programs like that in K through 12. In the higher education level, the university system, I think it's important that we, here at FAU particularly, we need to continue funding the grants and continue to funding the incubator programs that are a transition for students to go from from school, their education, the university level, to the business world, through the incubator system that's so successful here at FAU.
Thank you, Mike. Can you tell us what you think the most pressing issue for Florida is right now?
Well, I think it's the economy. I think, the economy is the driver of everything. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. I might go 3 minutes on this one, Robert, but I met a guy during the campaign. His name is Sal Sazo, and he was the president of IBM in South Africa. And when Nelson Mandela first came to office in South Africa, he called Sal Sazo in from IBM and sat him down and said, Sal, I just got elected. We've got a crumbling infrastructure here. That we've got two classes here, very rich people, very poor people. We have no middle class. He says, we've got so many people in need and so many programs that need, money. What should I focus on first? And Sal Sazo thought about it for a minute, turned to President Mandela and said, educate your people. Educate your people. You educate your people, and you create a workforce, an educated workforce. The businesses will come in, and they'll hire your people. You'll create a middle class, and you'll have all the tax money from the businesses and from the middle class to fund anything you want, okay? So the economy, once you have the money in a thriving economy, then problems like blue-green algae, we can fund them to solve them. Once we have the money in the economy, making education affordable is something that we can do, okay? And that's so the economy, having jobs available for students coming out of the university system is paramount.
Mike, one of the issues that's been plaguing, especially Palm Beach County public schools, is the lack of money for funding, and in fact there's a proposition on the ballot in Palm Beach County to add $1 million to the property tax to help address the need for more money for teachers and for safety. You've spoken passionately about education reform. What exactly would your plan look like?
Education reform would be some of the things I just discussed. The vocational programs in high school. It would be less testing and taking. We spend a ton of money testing students, in all 3rd grade through 11th grade. We spend a ton of money on that, and we focus our whole year on that. And if we take that money instead, give it to the teachers and put the money into the classrooms, we're going to have a much better educational system. We spend way too much of our time and money and our focus on this testing. I think that, the education system, we're number 3 in the 3rd economy in the country. Florida is the 3rd economy in the country. We're number 47 when it comes to funding education. That's just wrong. It's just flat out wrong. We need to contribute more money. We need to focus more of our $89 billion budget on education.
My last question for you, Mike, is that, you know, we've seen a lot of negative campaigns, and you've just come out of one where it was really a blistering campaign. A lot of negative things were said about you and your family. And at this point, what would you like to tell people about you and your family, and so that they have a broader picture of you as a person and as a candidate?
You know, I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of my life, and the things I've been able to do in life. I'm proud of my wife and all of her accomplishments, and my 7 kids. My gosh, they all have a story. I could sit up here for hours like an old grandpa and tell stories about each and every one of my kids. I'm so proud of them. If I was to, you know, the campaign was ugly. And you know, and as I mentioned, my opponent's whole platform was a negative campaign. And like I said, it didn't work then and it won't work now, because negative campaigns don't. Negative platforms and negative attacks don't win campaigns. They just don't. When it all comes down to it, it's about the issues. And we need to focus on the issues. And that's what I'm going to be doing, is focusing on the issues. Because this campaign's not about Mike Caruso. It's about you guys, every one of you, and what your needs are. And that's what I want to do, is serve you guys.
Thank you, Michael. And again, Michael is running for House District 89, which, as he said, covers the area right here at FAU and along the Barrier Island up as far as how high?
It goes up to Singer Island.
Singer Island.
Yeah, and most of it's military to the ocean. And as you work your way north, it works its way east, the district. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody out there in the state of Florida at all the different university levels and say, rock the vote.
Thank you, Mike. We're waiting on Senator Powell here. He's just entered that room, and let's, Bobby, why don't you come on up?
Everybody.
Bobby Powell is one of our state senators, and he's running for re-election. Bobby, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? We have a microphone up there for you. So you get in the room, and the first thing we do is say, go on up there and earn your keep. I'm going to give you a few minutes to introduce yourself, and then I have a few questions for you.
Outstanding. Hello, everyone. My name is Bobby Powell, Jr. I am the state senator for District 30. So the commissioner gets the cordless.
I like this bipartisan cooperation.
Thank you. Well, my name is Bobby Powell, Jr. I'm the state senator for District 30. District 30, of course, starts in West Palm Beach, starts in Palm Beach, the island, and goes all the way up to the Martin County line. We get Jupiter to Cuesta, every barrier island that there is north of West Palm Beach. We get all the way to Royal Palm Beach, up to Jupiter, get to Cuesta, and then the city where I was born and raised, Riviera Beach, all of West Palm Beach where I currently live. And I get the opportunity to serve that area. Prior to being a state senator, I spent 4 grueling years in the Florida House of Representatives. From 2012 to 2016, one of 120. Now in the state Senate, I get to be one of 40. And it's an exciting time to be a part of the legislature. It's an exciting time to be a part of politics in general. Is this seat for me?
You may use it.
Because it's kind of weird to just... It's like the Oprah couch, the Bobby couch, all right. So, been in the Senate for 2 years. The first year I was in the Senate, 2016, 2017, I had an opportunity to serve as the chair of the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation. Now, as the chair of the legislative delegation for Palm Beach County, we've got 13 legislators, 4 members of the Senate, and 9 members of the Florida House. And what I did is I served as a liaison with all of our members to make sure that we brought the goods back to Palm Beach County. Now, you all are FAU, the younger crowd. It's, from my understanding, it was my responsibility to help secure the bag. You know what that means, secure the bag? So we secured the bag for Palm Beach County, and I was glad to be able to do that. Now, I will say that while I'm here, we've got Mr. Linder Joseph who's here. Linder is and has been an intern in my office. He's also a student here at Florida Atlantic University. And we got Mr. Marvell Joseph who's back there. He has served as the legislative aide for Representative Al Jaquette. He's also a student here at Florida Atlantic University. And without any further ado, the man with the plan, he needs no introduction. He is a former collegiate level athlete at Florida State University. He is the legislative aide in my office right now. He's the one who helps me to secure that bag. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Benjamin Durgan.
Bobby, can you tell us why you're running now? Usually these are 4-year terms, so how come you're back looking for a re-election after 2 years?
Well, I recently went through my primary election, and in the general election, I have a write-in candidate that I'm running against. I'll be on the ballot in the general, but there'll only be a line. There'll be my name, and then there's a line for write-in. Generally, what happens when they have write-in candidates, a lot of people will look up and see who the candidate is and vote for that person because they may or may not want to vote against me, or they'll write in some innocuous name like Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck, Superman, their own name, and generally I'll be able to fly through the general election pretty easily. I was in the runoff, I mean, not a runoff, I had primary election. Funny story, primary election. So in 2016, I was up for election. I was a state representative, and I ran for the state senate. And the opponent then was an attorney named Michael Steinger. You may see all these billboards. So he got in that race to run for senate, and I heard that he was going to get me out of the race. He actually approached me and gave me an opportunity to run for my House seat. He said, hey, if you want to run for your House seat, I'll support you. And I politely gave him an opportunity to run for State Representative Pat Rooney's House seat, and he didn't pick up that opportunity. So, funny thing happened on the day before qualifying. Like weird stuff happens in elections. There was a gentleman by the name of Tony Bennett, and he was running for state senate. Bennett for senate. He was in it to win it. And he had met with Steinger before. He told me whatever, and he had said that, weird thing. He asked me, what did he offer you? He didn't offer me nothing. I didn't meet with him. So Bennett said he wasn't going to get out of the race, but the day before the election, the day before closing of the primary, Bennett flew the coop, and he jumped into the race for county commission. And amazingly, another guy who was running for county commission by the name of Reuben Anderson jumped into this race. The long and short of it is, Reuben Anderson is African American. He was supposed to help to split the black vote. Y'all, we can explain that a little later. And Bennett was Caucasian. He was getting out to make sure that white vote went to Steiner. Long story short, Reuben didn't qualify. It was me and Steiner head up. The voters selected the most qualified candidate. And 2 years later, Reuben Anderson got in the race, and then the voters again selected the most qualified candidate.
Bobby, can you tell us a little bit about your decision to run for office? Why did you do this? You have a day job, obviously, and I know you have, you're in architecture and land planning.
Absolutely.
Why do you do this? Why do you take the time away from your professional life to be a senator or a state representative?
Rob, that's a good question, and I'll answer that question this way. My mother died in 2001, right? And my mom, before she passed away, I spent a lot of time helping my mom. She was disabled. She spent the last, 10 years of her life in a wheelchair. She used to, anybody know what dialysis is? Where you had renal failure, and she would go to dialysis and spend 4 hours on a dialysis machine twice a week. She'd come home, throw up, get up, whatever. And there were things that she enjoyed doing. She enjoyed going to thrift stores. Yeah, and I used to be like, oh God, not again. She enjoyed going to the dog track, right? And certain things she enjoyed doing, but my life pretty much revolved around doing stuff for my mother all day and all the time when I was home. So when she passed away, I was kind of like lost, right? I didn't have somebody to do stuff for, and I enjoy doing things for myself or by myself, but there's nothing like serving other people. So I started to get involved in my community, and I found out that the same feeling that was similar to when I would help my mom, I got that from helping other people by going to city meetings and community meetings and giving advice and helping people out. So when the opportunity came to run for office, I started out as an aide for Mac Bernard, but before that, I was working in the community. I was a part of the West Side Civic Association, a part of Riviera Beach Library Advisory Board, Salvation Army Advisory Board. But so doing all those things, I got picked up by Mac Bernard. When Mac Bernard decided to run for the state Senate, I decided to run for the state House because I looked at the other candidates and I felt that I would be the best person to serve the people. And over the years, I've developed a slogan because I had an uncle who passed away 2 years ago, so maybe 3 years ago. And he's the former bureau chief for the Department of Education, and his name is James Barge, Dr. James Barge. And when I would sit with him, he's much older. He was in his late 80s, maybe early 90s. He would say that a life of service is a life that counts. And when you start to serve people, you really start to feel that and see that a life of service is a life that counts. So that even now, all the things that I've done to help other people, I feel fine. I don't want to pass away today, but if I were to leave this earth, I feel like I've done my due justice, and I don't think that the earth owes me anything.
Thank you, Bobby. To let the audience know, Mac Bernard, who did not win the state Senate seat that he ran for when Bobby ran for his House seat, is now Commissioner, Palm Beach County Commissioner. So he did go on to higher office. Bobby, can you tell us a little bit what you think the biggest issue is in Florida right now?
When you think about the biggest issue in the state of Florida, you look at the budget and what we spend the most amount of money on. Here in the state of Florida, what we spend the most money on is obviously healthcare. It's about 38% of our budget. And this is a state where we did accept federal funds to expand Medicaid in the state of Florida. And that's something that we deal with heavily every year because we didn't take that money. Now, that being 38% of our budget and the low income pool, we still have to infill money into the low income pool because we don't have enough money to fund that every year. So healthcare is obviously the biggest issue facing the state of Florida, but behind that, not too far behind that, is education. We have a problem here in the state of Florida where you all are here at Florida Atlantic University becoming the best and brightest, but when you graduate from Florida Atlantic University, many of you will seek opportunities outside of the state of Florida because of the salaries and because of the education that we do bring here in Florida. Jobs that are much further outside, we lose a lot of students to other states, or a lot of our best and brightest to other states, because we don't pay the salaries that are required for you all to stay here in the state of Florida and to be able to afford to live. Affordable housing, $350,000 for a house here in Palm Beach County in the medium household. Most people can't afford that.
Thanks, Bobby. After Parkland, there was a lot of attention to gun control and gun laws. What do you think about the gun laws in Florida? Are they too strict, too weak, or just right?
The gun laws in the state of Florida, let me start by saying this. In the state of Florida, we have a problem that we have what we call trust funds, right? When you think of trust, that's something that you believe in, right? I believe that public office, especially state senate, state representative, state legislature, any elected office is a public trust. Well, in the state legislature, we have trust funds that are set aside for specific purposes, like the Affordable Housing Trust Fund or the Sadowski funds. They're supposed to be in a trust fund for that, but we raid and sweep all the trust funds except for one, and that is the gun trust fund, because the NRA has such a strong hold on the legislature. Many of my Republican colleagues won't dare to take money out of that trust fund. The rules here in Florida are definitely too lax. Under our current, soon-to-be former Commissioner of Agriculture, we increased the number of concealed weapons permits by a great deal. And what we've seen here is that there are too many guns in the wrong hands. And people say, well, if you go through and you get a license, then you should be able to carry a gun, and some of the crimes are not committed by. But some of these people who carry licenses, still leave those guns in the wrong places. A couple years ago in Jupiter, someone had a gun that they were concealed carry. They went into the chamber, and they made a mistake and left the gun in the chambers of Jupiter Town Council, and I think it was found like 2 weeks later. Well, what would have happened if somebody mistakenly left their gun in the council chambers and someone who had a beef with one of the council members or somebody else came in there afterwards because someone made a mistake and left it there and used that gun if they were not allowed to carry it? Those are the things we're facing, and we need to be able to change that because we've taken away home rule when it comes to gun legislation. Like Florida Atlantic, if you have a concealed weapons permit, the state won't allow the university to tell you that you may not be, but you can't bring, you guys. No guns on school campuses. We've fought against that.
Bobby, under what circumstances would you support the legalization of marijuana for recreational use?
It's a good question, Rob. It's a good question. I think the question should be, or the answer may be, under what circumstances would I not support it? I think that far too long here in the state of Florida and all over the nation that marijuana has been criminalized. Now we've passed it in terms of medical marijuana, but there are people who face a lot of jail time. There are people who have had their records destroyed for possession of marijuana, and I think that it's high time, no pun intended, that we change the laws here in the state of Florida with regard to that.
Thank you. And this question dovetails with your earlier answer as far as the issues in Florida, but the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says 20% of Floridians don't have health insurance. Should anything be done about this? And again, the question goes on to say, is expanding Medicaid the answer?
Absolutely, expanding Medicaid is the answer. And what you've seen here in the state of Florida is that people have gone bankrupt. People have ruined their lives trying to pay medical bills. And it could happen to anyone. Anytime we have a small medical issue or medical illness. Some students who are here in college right now, your parents may not have coverage and you may be here, and all it takes is a medical emergency to ruin your life. For the rest of your life, you're trying to pay medical bills. And all we had to do here in the state of Florida was expand Medicaid, expand health care to everyone. And it's a problem. The only way that we can fix that is we have to have a governor and a legislature who understands this and are able to expand it. The truth is, a lot of members of our legislature, not me, are millionaires who may not understand what it's like to not have. I know what it's like. I mean, some of these people, I know what it's like to go home as a kid and there's only one car. So you're waiting at home with your mom because your dad hasn't gotten off work and you want to go somewhere, but you can't go because he's got the car and he takes forever to get home. Personal issue, but you know, I know what it's like at the beginning of the month to have a, right. So y'all feel me when you're like, I wish my daddy would hurry up and come home because my mom said she was gonna take me somewhere, but he's not here. Or at the beginning of the month, you know, you're eating good food, chicken and steak and ribs, you know, all the good food at the beginning of the month, and then at the end of the month, you're like, Mom, hungry, and she's like, go eat some cereal. I'm like, hey, that's not dinner food because we don't want to eat cereal for dinner. You can eat ramen noodles. I don't like those.
Thank you, Bobby. Just pointing out to our audience that Bobby again is running for re-election to District 30, State Senate. It's interesting to note that no write-in has ever won elective office in the state of Florida. So, Bobby, I think you're on the good path to get re-elected. I'm going to ask you to sort of change hats right now, and you have been offered as the spokesman for the Gillum campaign. So I'm going to ask you now to move on from your re-election and discuss the governor's race.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Well, as you know, some of the issues that I discussed earlier as a state senator are even more so important when we talk about the governor's race. As a state senator, what I can tell you is that myself and my legislative aide, Ben, have gotten numerous dollars in the budget at the end of the year, only to have those dollars cut out by the governor. We had over $900,000 for a youth employment program in the city of Riviera Beach that made it through the entire process, which is very difficult, by the way, because it goes through a committee process, and then it goes through the whole entire appropriations process. Then it goes to the floor of the Senate, in the House and it gets through. That, we did that with two different numerous projects, but two that I can specifically think of, a historical museum and a youth employment program, and both projects the governor vetoed, and these were things that we believe could have allowed for jobs. When we talk about good legislation, we need a governor like Governor Gillum who will restore restoration of rights for felons, because under the current administration, in 2010, the cabinet, and if you all don't know what the cabinet is, that is the governor, the governor, the commissioner of agriculture, the CFO of the state of Florida, and the attorney general got together and determined that if anyone had committed a crime and had a felony, they would no longer have their rights. They wouldn't have the opportunity to have their rights restored after being released. They would have to wait 5 years to even apply for clemency. And then after that 5 years, and some crimes up to 10 years. Now, mind you, there was already a backlog because it wasn't being properly funded, as it is not now being properly funded. So that 5 years actually turns into 10 years before you even get a hearing on your issue. And what that does is it prevents a lot of people from participating, from voting, from being a part of society, and from feeling like they're actually a part of the community because they don't have their rights restored. And it's sad to see an adult man or woman go before this particular clemency board and cry and talk about all the things that they've done to have their rights restored over the 5 years and still be denied. So this is an opportunity for us to have a governor who understands, who wants to put people back to work, who wants to make sure people have good jobs. He's been fighting for a $15 minimum wage. Now remember, that still will have to go through the legislature. So even if there's an increase in minimum wage, maybe not to $15, but even if we got it to 12, it would be a difference in the way that people are able to live here in the state of Florida. We talk about affordable housing. People can't afford to live here in the state of Florida. That's another reason that they're moving. We'll have a governor who will make sure that we don't continue to sweep funds out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That's why we need Andrew Gillum for governor. We need Andrew Gillum for governor because, as I explained earlier, in my history, his background, the same thing. His mother was a bus driver. His father was a construction worker who, on Saturday mornings, would go and find things to sell, selling flowers across from the cemetery. So this is a working class family. He's a working class man who knows what it's like to get in the trenches with the rest of the people. I'll tell you another thing about Andrew, whom I have known for 18 years. While he was the SGA president at Florida A&M University, he was always a guy who would come down to the level with ordinary people. It wouldn't be anything for him to come into this room and mingle with just about every single person that he could. As long as he could touch you, he will mingle with you. That's a different type of political environment, a different type of political person, and I'm glad that we can support him as our next governor of the state of Florida. He is absolutely the most qualified candidate.
Thank you, Byron. I'm sure he'd be pleased to hear that. And I'd like to thank you very much for both coming in to talk about your re-election, also on behalf of Mayor Gillum and his potential election as our next governor. And I'd like to call Jacqueline up now so that she can close this up.
Well, I want to thank Jacqueline and the entire FAU student body and SGA for the wonderful opportunity to come down here and speak to you all. And I'm looking forward to you all being in these seats really, really soon.
Okay, well, he kind of stole my line, but I just want to say on behalf of Florida Atlantic University Student Government, we'd like to thank you all for coming out. And can we have one more last round of applause for all of our candidates? And we didn't get t-shirts there in the back, and I hope you all have a great and safe night.
I saw you holding that camcorder. The real hero. The real hero. I saw you holding that camcorder. I've never seen that. Wow, look at that. Bro, I had had to find out how do I zoom in. I'm trying to, how do I zoom in? You're not gonna believe it. It's like, feel it. You feel the presence. I'll be recording. You did.
I understand why people get burned out. Like, I am, and I'm already kind of seeing why it's so last long. I mean, I'm like, I'm hoping that like my love for Chef will like last me long enough to get to the Senate, you know? Right, then we get some shit done. Right then, it'll be fun. Please, can you help us, for instance, coming to our office? Oh, I'm so looking forward to that. Congress. Right, same. Oh, of course. Okay. Okay, yeah. Of course, right? I'm like, I'm still gonna use like trying to remember people's names and things like that. Totally. I introduce myself to everybody. It's always like good to see you. That's really what I've been doing. Hey, good to see you. Hey, well, you know, it's too bad that I won't feel like I finally know someone and it's like, and they're like, we've met before. That's what I'm saying. Don't say that. What year were you got there? Yeah. So, who's president? So, I know. Oh my God. So, based on, what's her name? Franklin. It's me and another new girl. You're in like, I caught 6 times in a row. 20 years ago. Get over it.
No, apparently, like, Pablo was like, you'll still, like, talk about it when you're older. Like, hey, one day,
Yeah. Okay, awesome. And I have your number, so.
they're gonna be too lenient, like, by the time I graduate.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, hi, I'm very vice president. Enjoying the election good.
I like figured it out. I know. Bye, good to see you.
Wait, can you text me the pictures? Okay. Yeah, she has it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you.
She did this whole week. I'm so proud of her. Like, wear heels anymore.
And every morning I'm like, Thank you so much. Anything you ever need from me or the Congress? Yeah, no, yeah. Anything you need. Thank you so much. I'm really always happy to come and take interns, give career advice, help connect people. Right, Liv? Friendly and fun. Only good things.
I know, but I say congressman name so much that everybody knows. I saw your name.
Still there?
I mean, mine, they'll have to start a new class.
Because so much time has passed and you're so old.
No, because like the class.
You know when